Hello, this is Rico Caviglia, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, your operations manual for the human body. And the title of today's session is Brain Health. Now, of course, obviously, brain health is vitally important. If your brain isn't functioning well, your body's not functioning well, right? So we're very fortunate to have as our brain expert today, Dr. Tom O'Brien. So Dr. Tom, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here. And I want to say that Dr. O'Brien has written a great book. It's called You Can Fix Your Brain, which has really all the information, extensive information in detail, all you need to know about how you can really take care of your brain and regenerate your brain. And you can find this book, and you can find how to contact Dr. Tom and access all his books and a wealth of information he has on his website at thedoctor.com, which is THEDR.com. And all this information is in the PDF that goes along with your package here, with your program. So I highly recommend that you go through the PDF and check out his book and check out all the information. He has great information on his website. But in this video, we're just going to go over the most important concepts and the things that you can do right now to begin protecting and regenerate your brain. So, Dr. Tom, what would you say is the latest brain research telling us about the capabilities of our brain and how it functions?
Well, the most startling thing is that the Alzheimer's Association, which is a very respectable group with tens of millions of dollars per year in their campaign to end Alzheimer's. You know, it's not a little community college group. I mean, this is a major organization in the US. They came out last year and they said one elder in 3 dies with Alzheimer's or another dementia.
Wow.
One out of 3. So that means, Rico, between you and me and you, the listener, one of the 3 of us, and it ain't going to be me, right?
Yeah, I hope it's not me. I hope it's none of us, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's going to be a lot of us. I mean,
yeah.
The reality is it's going to be a lot of us. That's the first point. There's 3 points I want to make to start off with. That's the first one. The second one is that everybody knows someone who had a heart attack, survived, changed their diet, started exercising, and they look better than they've looked in years. Most of us know someone diagnosed with cancer, went through the recommended protocols, whatever they were, put it in remission, and they're doing great. Mm-hmm. No one knows anyone
yeah, that's true.
Diagnosed with a brain deterioration disease who's doing great. And it terrifies us.
Yeah.
It terrifies us so much, we don't talk about it. We don't think about it. We just ignore it. Put in the, when you don't remember where your keys are, or you can't remember where you parked your car in the parking lot, you got a problem. And we don't recognize there's a problem because we don't know what to do. That's the second point. Mm-hmm. So the first point is it's a huge problem. The second point is it scares the hell out of us and no one wants to talk about it because we don't know what to do. And the third point is you can fix your brain. See, we don't understand that if we feel fine, there's no problem. We think there's no problem, I feel fine. Mm-hmm. That's not the case. Nobody gets Alzheimer's overnight or in a month. It's a decades-long process of killing off cells, killing off cells, killing off cells, killing off cells. For decades. And there's at least 6 different steps that have been identified. And the reason that 2 that I know of, and there probably are more, but 2 pharmaceutical industries have shut down their Alzheimer's research departments, laid off the scientists, completely shut down the departments after spending billions of dollars, is because they realized they're never going to get a cure for Alzheimer's. It's not possible. There are at least 36 different things that have to be addressed. And there's no pill, that addresses more than one or two. And so all the pills have failed, billions of dollars in research. It's failed. So the drug companies have gone on to new diseases because they're profit making. And if there's no profit, they aren't going to do it.
Right.
So those are the 3 points to realize is that one, it's a major, major problem, more of a problem than cardiovascular disease. Two, everybody's terrified by it and they don't talk about it. They don't look at the subject because it scares the hell out of us. And three, you really can fix your brain. So now I want to talk about how do you fix your brain? What pill do I take? There is no pill. Get over that. There is no pill.
Well, can we talk just a little bit first before you go into that? What would you say are some of the main causes? You know, why are we having this problem? And also, I just want to say too that Dr. Tom's going to go into specific things that you can actually do. But remember, I want people to remember that our brain is just another organ in our body, right? So what's healthy for our body is also healthy for our brain. So if you have a good health program going on, if you're exercising, you're eating whole, real food, you're getting sleep, you're not stressed out, you're already doing some good for your brain, but obviously there's a lot of specific things for your brain as well. So, but what would you say, what is the main cause that we're having this epidemic of dementia?
That's really the million-dollar question, Rico. And I'll give you this analogy. You're in Chicago. You want to go to San Diego. You're going to drive to San Diego. I actually did that in 2010. I moved from Chicago to San Diego, and I drove cross country. You got to have a map for where you're going. You can't get in the car and just start driving thinking you're going to find San Diego. You know, you got to have a map. So when you want to change the direction that your brain health is going in, you got to have a map. Mm-hmm. And it's not so simple. What pill do I take or what diet do I eat? It just is because, you know, you say, well, what road do I get on to go to San Diego? Okay, that's the road I'm going to take. Well, you can take 80, Interstate 80, it'll take you so far, but then you got to turn off onto another superhighway, right? You got to make some turns. And that's what it's like when you want to turn around the direction your brain's going in, is that you got to have the map. So what's the map? The map is looking at the mechanisms that cause the brain cells to be killed off. And like your question, what causes this? So when you understand that there are a number of turns you've got to make to get to San Diego, there are a number of steps you have to take to get your brain functioning better, to stop the inflammation. Now, many people know that, as far as I know, every degenerative disease is a disease of inflammation. At the cellular level, the brain, the cell's on fire. It's inflamed. It's on fire. So the question is it a brain cell or a kidney cell? Is it gasoline or kerosene? And that's the map. You have to figure out, what is it that my body is fighting that's causing this inflammation that's killing off my brain cells too fast? We all lose cells every day. Mrs. Patient, you have an entire new body every 7 years. Every cell in your body regenerates, every single cell. The fastest cells are the inside lining of the nose and the inside lining of the gut every couple, 3 days, but every cell regenerates. Bone cells are kind of slow, brain cells are kind of slow, but every cell regenerates. So the key is you're losing cells every day and you're making cells every day. You're regenerating more cells every day. The key is you want to make more new cells than what you're losing. And when you do that, your muscles get stronger, right? If you're doing bicep and your arm's sore the next day, it's like you killed off a bunch of bicep cells by exercising a little harder than usual. And today it's sore because there's a little bit of inflammation in there, but now you're making new muscle cells and your bicep cell is going to be bigger. Tiny amount, but you do it regularly and you get definition after a month or two. It's the same with your brain. that we have to make more new cells than we're losing in our brain. In order to do that, you got to have the map. I'm going to keep coming back to that. You got to know what the target is. So the first thing is to identify, where is the inflammation coming from in my brain? And there's one simple blood test that came out just over a year and a half ago that there's nothing like it on the planet. And I lecture all over the world. There is no test like this blood test. It looks at 48 different markers of inflammation in your brain.
Wow.
So you do this simple blood test called the NeuroZoomer Plus.
Oh, yeah.
And it lays out. And if you sometimes can't remember where you parked your car in the parking lot, or somebody's walking towards you, you say, oh, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? Oh God, I know this guy. What's his name? If that kind of stuff happens to you, this blood test is going to come back and show you got a problem. And you may have 15 or 20 different markers of inflammation. And I tell people all the time, my favorite patients are the ones that say, I've been to Mayo Clinic and they don't know what's wrong. And I say, that's great. That's really great. And they look at me like, what? I said, that's great, because if you had a disease, Mayo Clinic would find it. You've got dysfunction. Something's not functioning right. So let's figure out what's not functioning right and fix that. And they go, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense.
That makes sense.
So this blood test is a blood test that marks inflammation in your brain. So when it comes back, the patient comes in for the second visit after we've done our blood draws and everything. And everybody's nervous about test results. And I'm looking at this test result and I'll say, oh, wow, good news. And they smile a little bit and I said, you're a mess. Look at all these things that are wrong. This is wrong, it'll take 2 months. This is wrong, it'll take, but all of this is correctable. So this one will take 4 months, this one might take a year, but once you identify the markers that your brain is on fire, then you look at the map. So the markers say, okay, to get to San Diego, you got to go through Iowa, you got to go through Nebraska, you got to go through Colorado, then you make a turn, go down through Nevada, right? So when you get this test result, it says, you got to fix this, you got to fix this, you got to fix this, you got to fix this. And so now you know what the map is. And once you have the map, then the question is, okay, how do I calm down the fire in my brain?
I could ask you, well, isn't one of the biggest problems that's causing our problem is all this chemical toxicity that we're exposed to? Isn't that one of the biggest causes probably?
Well, that's the $1 million answer, and you're absolutely right. But usually I kind of walk people through Iowa and Nebraska before we get to Nevada.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, of the 5 different types of Alzheimer's, the most common type is called inhalation Alzheimer's. It's what you're breathing. It goes right through your nose up into your brain. Every time you pump gas, if you fill up the gas tank, do you smell gas? Oh yeah, most of the time. You're smelling benzene.
Yeah, not good.
Benzene is killing off brain cells right now. Right now. When you smell benzene, it causes inflammation in your brain, killing off brain cells. Just read the science. Well, I have to fill the tank. Yeah, of course you do. But if you're holding the nozzle and you smell gas, you're downwind. Walk around to the other side of the hose. Now you're upwind. Or better yet, put it on auto and walk away.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's these little things. Now, there's no evidence that the amount of benzene that you inhale when you're pumping gas is toxic to humans. There's no evidence that it's going to make you sick. No evidence. Because it's a minor amount, but it creates the fire in the brain. Now, fill your gas tank once a week. That's 52 times a year, times 10 years. That's 520 times now you've inhaled benzene, killing off brain cells. Now you're killing off enough brain cells total. You got a problem here. So, changing your position, filling up the gas tank is not going to stop where you're going. When you drive through Iowa, you haven't reached San Diego. you got to go a lot further, right? There's a lot more things you have to do, but it's these little things. And the most toxic air for most people is inside the house,
Yeah.
not outside the house. Why? Because plastic, all of the plastic in the house, plastic is formed by chemicals called phthalates, plasticizers. They're the phthalates. And the plastic blinds on your window, the plastic shade on your lamp, the plastic screens on your wood screen behind you, if they're not cloth, they're plastic. All of these pieces of plastic in our house, on your computer, all of these different pieces of plastic outgas a little of the phthalates, the chemicals used to mold the plastic, outgas into the air. So this stuff is in the air. Well, my air is clean. Oh, really? You ever notice the sunshine coming through the window sometimes, you know, the right angle, and you can see the dust in the air?
Mm-hmm.
That's all the crap that you're breathing. And you can't taste it, you can't smell it. But no, there's no evidence that the amount of phthalates that leach out of plastic blinds is toxic to humans. That's how they get away with doing this stuff,
Right.
is because they had the legislation passed that said that you have to prove that the amount of phthalates in the plastic blinds that are outgassing into the air will make you sick. And that's never going to happen. It doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But
You know,
it's cumulative.
You know, you probably heard that there's some people that got this thing going that July is supposed to be to avoid plastic. Have you heard that? It's in the it's going on in the United States, where try to avoid plastic bags and plastic water bottles. But we shouldn't just do it for 1 month. We need to do it for ongoing. We need to avoid plastic as much as possible.
You know, there was a article that came out about 1.5 years ago that there's a supermarket in Denmark, the largest supermarket chain in Denmark. They made the declaration, within 12 months, we will not have any plastic containers in this supermarket. That's for good. Food, yeah. For dishwashing soap, wrapped around our meats or our fish. They made the declaration, which was really great. It's a critical thing. It's a real poison in our world today, there's such minor amounts from any one device that comes out into the air. But what people don't understand is this stuff is accumulative in the body.
Right.
I'll give you an example. They took 346 pregnant women in Chicago. They measured their urine in the 8th month of pregnancy, and they measured it for the amount of phthalates, these plasticizers in the environment. They categorized the results into fourths. The lowest fourth, the women with the lowest amount, the next one, the third one, and the highest amount. They then followed these pregnancies and the children born of these pregnancies. When the children turned 7 years old, they did Wechsler IQ tests on all the kids. Every child whose mother was in the highest quartile of phthalates in urine in pregnancy, compared to the children in the lowest quartile of phthalates of urine in pregnancy. Every child in the highest quartile, their IQ was 7 points lower. Now, that doesn't mean anything to anybody until you understand a 1 point difference in IQ is noticeable. A 7 point difference in IQ is the difference between a kid working really hard, getting straight A's, and a kid working really hard, getting straight C's. This kid doesn't have a chance in hell. Then you just go to Google and type in phthalates, 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 and neurogenesis, nerve growth. Here come all the studies that the accumulation of phthalates in the brain inhibits the development of the brain. The nerves don't grow properly. But there's no evidence that the amount of phthalates in any one container, in any one Tupperware container, in any one plastic lid on your coffee, in any one plastic bottle that you drink out of, there's no evidence that that's toxic to you.
Yeah.
That's how the companies get away with this crap. And the
Was
result is we're all being poisoned
right.
by it.
Well, so the main point here is that it's cumulative, but also I want to thank you all for this information, especially, you know, this whole program is advertised as we're giving you the cutting edge, latest scientific information. So I really want to thank you for that. What's the name of that test again? Now it's called the Neural Zoomer.
Neural Zoomer Plus.
Neural Zoomer Plus test.
You'll find
So
it on my website. So
yeah, you'll find it on your website.
download the information and take it to your doctor and say, please order this test for me. And
That's
most doctors won't do it because they don't understand it and they're not going to do what a patient says. But some doctors will say, I've never heard of this. Let me look into it. And when they look into it, their jaw drops because they've never seen anything like this. Is remarkable. This is just remarkable.
Now, this is some great information. Okay, Dr. Tom, well, in your book, the subtitle of your great book, You Can Fix Your Brain, it says, just 1 hour a week to your best memory, productivity, sleep you've ever had. So in the time we have left, talk about what are some of the primary things that people can start doing right now to improve their memory, their productivity, their sleep, and to avoid dementia.
The first and most important thing is to avoid chasing your tail. The dog that's going to chase his own tail. So the dog that's going to chase his own tail is going to read a book that says phosphatidylcholine helps to reduce brain deterioration. And I'm going to take phosphatidylcholine. Or ketogenic diets help brain function better. Or I'm going to do a ketogenic diet. And you're chasing your tail because you're only addressing 1 or 2 out of 36 things that have to be addressed. So the most important thing that you can do is understand, I need a map to get from Chicago to San Diego. I need a map to turn around the direction of my brain function. And when you understand that, and this is different than any healthcare effort you've ever done in the past, because this one will take you down. Brain dysfunction will take you down if you look for 1 or 2 things that you can do. You've got to have the map. So you have to understand, oh man, my Neural Zoomer Plus, it's a mess. Okay, Dr. Bryan said that's good. Okay, so what do I do? Well, okay, I'm going to clean up the inside air. How do you do that? You get an air filtration system in your house, and the best one you can afford, preferably for the entire house. If not, for the room you spend the most time in. And then when you go to sleep at night, you roll the thing into your bedroom or your kid's bedroom, right? You learn, I mean, there's so many things. We have an entire master class on this, 87 videos that I've put together. Some of them are 4 minutes, some of them are 12 minutes long on each of the little things you need to do. For example, NASA published a study that showed if you put 2 6-inch high plants, just tiny little plants, in a room, 10 by 10, 100 square foot room, you take out 74% of the toxic air. The plants suck up the phthalates. The plants suck up the trichloroethylene. The plants suck up the benzene that's in the air in your house. And they pull it down into the roots, and the bacteria, the microbiome in the dirt changes that stuff, and it makes oxygen, and the plants put oxygen into the air. So NASA gives you, there's a whole list of plants that do that. And we're giving you that list today as one of the things for, you know, our gift to you. But that's just one thing. Well, I've got plants in my house, my brain's going to be fine. No, that's one of 36 things on the checklist that you've got to do. You're driving from Chicago to San Diego for a new life. And it's really great in San Diego, right? But you got to get there. You got to get there, right? So the first thing is to understand the map. Right. The second thing, get the right test done so you understand how much inflammation there is. The third thing is start hitting the checklist. What foods might be a problem for you causing inflammation? What environments might be a problem for you causing inflammation? Do I have too much heavy metals in my body like lead and mercury and arsenic? I got to get that stuff out of there. So you need to detox. Do I have too many phthalates in my body, like these women in pregnancy? You know, every newborn child in America has 280 the average is 280 chemicals in their bloodstream when they're born. They're not supposed to be there. Mom is a walking sewage dump. Excuse me, I know it's offensive, but that's a fact, Jack.
Yeah.
Just read the science so that you can take proactive action. Mom needs to detox before she gets pregnant.
Yeah.
Get this stuff out of the body. So you have to learn how to detox. And there's summits on detox and many books on detox. I can't give you the 5-minute detox rap. There is no such thing, except the number one thing about detoxing, and the first thing everyone should do to help their brain works better, is drink enough water. The best water that you can get, but you got to flush these toxic chemicals out of your body, and you won't do it if you're not well hydrated. Your body just will not do it. How much water? A ½ ounce per pound body weight. You weigh 150, that's 75 ounces of water a day. That's over half a gallon. Oh my God, I'll be peeing all day. That's the point. We want you to get this stuff out, right? So you have to get your body functioning differently in order to do that. This is the biggest and most difficult topic for people to turn around brain function. It's incredibly difficult to do it in the long term. And I've seen for decades now, been at this for 40 years, Rico, 40 years. Now this year is 40 years. And for decades, I've seen so many people chasing their tail. And I believe phosphatidylcholine increases brain function. The fish oils increase brain function. You know, coenzyme Q10 increases brain function because you get better mitochondrial. I mean, I know a lot of that stuff. And I read the studies, and I've known that for years. And I tell people this: they take phosphatidylcholine and coenzyme Q10 and fish oils, and yet 5 years later, their brain's in the toilet, right? So you can't chase your tail. If you want to be successful at this, nobody's going to tell you this, because we all want to give you something that sounds really good, and you start doing it, and you feel better for a little period of time, but you're still going down. You've got to change the direction that your brain is going in. In order to change the direction, you have to have the map to see where you are right now. Oh my God, I've got 18 out of these 46 markers that are elevated. That's not good. Okay, what do I need to do? And then in 6 months, when you check it again, you've got 4 markers left. And you stay on the program because you aren't done yet. And within a year, you do it again, and then you're clean. And then and you know your brain's functioning better because you see it every day, what's happening. But you're no longer chasing your tail, or you're no longer putting high octane fuel in a leaded gasoline car so that it's running really hot. You're not drinking 6 cups of coffee a day to keep going and keep going. You're not taking phosphatidylcholine to help your brain work better. And it's really helpful, but you're not just doing that, like doing 6 cups of coffee to have more energy. You're doing the full kahuna, right? You got to have a map to go from Chicago to San Diego.
Dr. Tom, that's such great information. I really appreciate it. And so the good news is, Dr. Tom has made us the map. We got the map, so you just got to go to his website. Where you'll find all this information in the PDF, and you're going to get his checklist. I'm definitely going to get that checklist. I should have done it a long time ago. I read your whole book, but I'm going to get into the. I'm going to get the checklist and start going through that now myself. So that was such great information. I really appreciate it so much.
I want to say one more thing.
Sure.
Here's a guy. Here's Rico, kind of summarizing it now. To the hook is here. It's time to go. Here's Rico, who really smart guy, very, very focused on sharing information on health to the entire world, helping thousands of people. He read the book, but he didn't implement the step-by-step roadmap. Now he understands, boy, I think that just makes sense. I need the map. So for everyone that's watching this, this is you. You need the map, right? So get the map, get the blood test done so you know what the heck's going on for you. And then you learn, how do I get my myelin antibodies down? You have to learn, you have to read the map. You read my book, you listen to the other speakers on this summit, and you listen to them again and again. But we got to change the paradigm of how we think about this so we stop chasing our own tail.
So good, so good. Thank you so much. That was so well. I really appreciate that. So again, the best thing I can tell you is Remember, knowledge without action is useless. So you got to take action on this. You got to take action on what Dr. Tom has just, all his recommendations and all of our experts. And if you do, I promise you it's going to make a really big difference in your overall health and well-being. So thanks very much for watching. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Tom. That was great.
Thank you, Rico.